Welcome to the 2025 Bible Artist Awards, honoring the finest achievements in Bible-based TV and movies. Now, here's our hosts, Kevin Keating and Victor DiGiovanni.
Welcome to the 2025 Bible Artist Awards, or the Bibies, as we are playfully calling them. So we are going to be talking about all the different Bible shows and Bible movies that came out in 2025, and we are going to be honoring some of the best movies, the best performances, the best ideas that we saw throughout this year showing up in Bible-based entertainment. We'll be hitting on movies, obviously The Chosen, House of David, the recent Chosen Adventures, The Promised Land, Testament, the David movie. We'll be hitting on all these different movies and shows as we are sharing these different awards. We already nominated various different shows for different categories that we're going to be awarding in a previous podcast, and now we are going to be sharing the results both of our own deliberations. So Victor, Kyle, and I have been discussing what we thought were some of the best movies and shows for these different categories, and we also put it out to you guys, and we got response from you through a poll that we did on the Bible Artist website. And so we'll be sharing all that with you over the course of the next hour or so. So, Victor, thank you for joining me. Kyle will not be able to join us, but he did share some of his thoughts, and so we'll be taking those into account. Before we get too far in, if you have not checked out The Bible Artist, definitely go to thebibleartist.com, where I produce all kinds of analysis, reviews, Bible studies, and discussion guides for Bible-based shows and movies like The Chosen, like David, where you can get all kinds of stuff like that. You can also support my work if you go to my Buy Me a Coffee account. You can either do a one-time gift, or you can become a recurring member and get a little additional resources, and that's a great way to help us continue doing what we're doing and producing reviews and stuff like this, and help you dive deeper into all the different stuff that's coming out during this amazing season. So without further ado, let's get into discussing some of the categories. So one of the first categories that we introduced in our previous discussion was that the best moment in a Bible show or film in 2025. And so we went through various different scenes that we thought were really powerful, things like David fighting Goliath, David returning after being betrayed by Saul in House of David Season 2. Another David moment, David kind of during Michal's engagement party, standing up to Saul and Joab. A moment with Saul and Samuel where they kind of face down at the end of House of David Season 2. And David talking to Jonathan, and the two of them kind of making a covenant at the end of Season 2 of House of David. Those are our David moments. We had a couple from The Chosen, so the Dianu, and then the triumphal entry. And then I also put down the light of the world, Jesus's death and resurrection in that film. So those were some of the different moments that we considered as we were contemplating the best moment in a Bible show or film. Some people also contributed their own when they did the poll, but these are the main ones that we discussed. And the results of our deliberations, both the judges like me, Victor, and Kyle, and also the audience, we all agreed that the Dianu was definitely the moment of the year for a Bible show or film. It was just like really emotional and kind of rich moment that brought together so much of what's happened in The Chosen, especially the Jesus Dianu. We saw how Jesus had affected all these different women in such powerful ways, but also kind of the history of Israel and kind of the biblical context to what Jesus was doing. So just a really masterfully produced moment and well acted. Just I think everybody was moved by that one, no matter where you stood on the rest of The Chosen Season 5. Victor, do you have any thoughts on that one before we...
I agree. Obviously, I voted for that one. That was a moment where it was not a true Bible moment, so it was one of the created for the show, but it perfectly did what a TV show is able to do, which is like it was able to bridge the gap of like the history of Israel, and also going forward, just kind of bringing it all together to where it made that moment where you really understood why it was such a big deal for Jesus in that exact moment to have that particular encounter with these people. It was just super powerful. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. And then as a honorable mention, this was from us, the judges. And Victor, I know this was one that stood out to you, and I also really enjoyed it, so I gave it the bump also. For our honorable mention, we included the confrontation between Saul and Samuel at the end of House of David season 2, where Samuel, he stands in the middle of the road blocking Saul and his army from following after David. And then Samuel strikes Saul with kind of this prophetic fit where Saul, he sees an image of David with the crown on. And yeah, it's a very, just potent moment. You know, it's got a little shades of like Gandalf on the bridge of Khazad-dûm facing down the Balrog, but also other things going on there. It's a biblical moment, although, you know, they're kind of shifting things around a little bit in an interesting way, but it's just a really powerful scene. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, those kind of scenes are really difficult to pull off because you're trying to do some sort of like a vision of things that are happening or a dream state. And you're trying not to also make it look just like every other situation like that. Like, you know, it kind of resembles whenever like somebody put on the ring in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They'd go into that kind of that fuzzy, kind of blurred type of thing. But just again, just kind of pulling together all these different threads of the show that we've gone to so far, all the different prophecies and all the different things that Saul's done and Samuel has told him and David's done. And it just kind of brought it all together into one moment where it just really landed in an epic way for me.
Yep. I totally agree with that. So those are our best moments for Bible shows and films in 2025. There were a lot of other great moments, other ones that people voted for. I think Triumphal Entry got quite a few votes. Definitely, that was a great moment too. But those were the top choices as far as the judges and the audience were concerned. Okay, next category that we discussed was the biggest creative swing in a Bible show or film in 2025. So we wanted to honor shows that did something kind of bold and risky and creative in attempting to kind of pursue their vision of a biblical story. And so some of the different ones that we put out there, I put on there House of David's use of AI technology in producing especially the angel story, but it also shows up in various different other points in House of David. I put the Charles Dickens frame narrative to King of Kings, the Last Supper depiction in The Chosen season 5, which does this kind of chiastic structure, a little bit like Memento, where it starts backwards and it kind of moves inward. And then the decision of the Carpenter's son to both do kind of teenage Jesus and make it a horror story, Testament doing an alternate history, and then finally Exodus as a comedy in the Promised Land. So those were the different nominees that we considered and the winners. So again, the audience and the judges agreed. We gave the 2025 Biby to the Promised Land for doing Exodus as a comedy. And I just thought that, you know, it would be possible for a show to do Exodus as a comedy in kind of either, you know, just kind of totally doing it as kind of silly and off the wall and not really kind of tied to the biblical story. Or you could also see a version of the story where it's not really a comedy. It's mostly just kind of a drama, or it's just kind of like a couple jokes here and there. But I was really impressed by how the creators of the Promised Land had this vision of, really finding the comedic elements in some of these characters and really kind of exploring those, but in a way that it didn't detract from the biblical adaptation. So this is, I don't know if I'd say it's like 100%, but it's a high percentage biblical adaptation and also a high percentage of comedy. And those things are held in tension in a really creative way. They really commit to it. And so I was really impressed by that. Victor, do you have any thoughts on Promised Land?
Well, if we'd have had this kind of a award show or prediction show last year, I would have given the idea for this as the most likely to be a complete disaster on paper. Just the idea of a Exodus as The Office, I would not have thought, and I didn't think it had any shot. And easily my biggest surprise of the entire year. I just love this show, and like you say, it did 100% following the Bible and 100% being a comedy.
Yep.
It somehow managed to straddle both of those things, and it's like the degree of difficulty that it was able to navigate was impressive.
Yep. The honorable mention was a little bit more difficult. I feel like we all kind of had different thoughts on which ones of the other ones in the category we liked, and the general audience was also kind of divided on it. I think Kyle was kind of, he liked the idea of Bible horror, and I'll just be honest, that's something that I'm interested in because I'm a horror fan, and so I was like interested to see what they would do. Definitely am not approving of all the things that The Carpenter's Son did as a movie, especially in its depiction of Jesus. But I do applaud a creator trying to do a very different genre than what you would expect with Bible adaptation, and trying to kind of find a unique way into the biblical story that hasn't been done before. And so wanted to give the honorable mention to The Carpenter's Son, even though there's a lot about the film that I did think was problematic. I had an interesting conversation with the director of it, Lotfi Nathan, a few weeks ago, about a month ago, where we discussed that. And so definitely check that out if you are interested in that movie, even though, yeah, I don't totally recommend the movie unless you're kind of a horror fan. And also, you know, you have to just be prepared for a lot of things to be kind of off in terms of biblical and theological stuff. But yeah, did want to, like, I like to kind of honor steps that are out there, even if they aren't perfectly executed, or even if they aren't fully in the direction that I would go with them, I guess.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's like, you know, I haven't seen Carpenter's Son, but I'm interested in seeing it. You know, we didn't really like Testament that much, but I want filmmakers to try more of those kind of things. All the nominations you had, I was in favor, and am in favor of people doing that in the future. Just try these things, see what works.
Yep.
You know, it's like if you're going to go for it, then you really got to go for it. Like, you can't just go halfway, which is kind of like, you know, I hate to rag on Testament, but if you're going to do something like, you know, alternate history, you got to go for it. I mean, the bar has been raised for these kind of shows where you can't just do, you know, okay, or like what we used to be acceptable for. It's like you've got to make something that is worth being along the same lines as anything that's not in a Bible show necessarily.
Yep. Yeah, and that's really the main reason why I didn't give my kind of go to Testament being the honorable mention, because I feel like they didn't fully commit to what they were trying to do with the alternate history and really trying to kind of flesh out the world. So cool idea, but they just need to go for it, big, you know, swing for it a little harder next time.
The bar has been raised, everybody.
Yep, definitely. Okay, next category is we're getting into our performances. And so best actor in a Bible show or film in 2025. So again, our potential nominees, Stephen Lang as Samuel in House of David, seasons 1 and 2. Wasim Nomani as Moses in The Promised Land. Michael Iskander as David in House of David, season 1 and 2. Ali Suleiman as King Saul in House of David, seasons 1 and 2. And then obviously there's Jonathan Rumi as Jesus in The Chosen, season 5. And ultimately, no surprise, Jonathan Rumi won the first Best Actor award for Bible show or film as Jesus. Both judges and the audience choice. It was like way, like probably 60% at least in favor of Jonathan Rumi, which is not a surprise. He is an amazing actor. I think we felt like we had more tension in the decision back and forth. And so for us, like, I feel like I put the images similar size just because I feel like for us, like, we we love Jonathan Roumie and all that he does with the character, but the performance of Stephen Lang, I think, was also a big standout for the year, and so he was the clear choice for an honorable mention, and almost for the judges got up there to the winner slot. But yeah, this is a interesting thing that we're going to run into. I feel like you, me, and Kyle as the judges, we generally are more favorable toward House of David, whereas our audience in various different categories, we're going to see kind of a divergence, especially when it comes to like our preference for House of David compared to the audience, which tends to prefer The Chosen season 5. Oh wait, sorry.
Go back one more. Just that it's this difficult a decision to choose which one is the best actor out of all these. And any one of them could have been and I think Jonathan Roumie, he's like got 5 seasons worth of rock solid performance. He's got the momentum. Even though I thought that some of the other performances probably were stronger overall individually, but he still has he has raised the bar so high. He has earned this for 5 seasons worth of stellar work, in addition to this being a great season.
Yeah. So kind of it would have been a surprise for him to not get the first annual Biby for acting, but eventually Jonathan Roumie will be off the scene, and we'll see for future seasons and how they turn out. Moving on to the Best Actress in a Bible Show or Film in 2025. Again, we have a few from House of David. So Indy Lewis as Michal, Ayelet Zur as Queen Ahinoam, Yale Topol Margalith as Mirab. So they are all from House of David seasons 1 and 2. And then from The Promised Land, there is Shireen Khan as Miriam, Moses' sister. And then from The Chosen season 5, Elizabeth Tibish as Mary Magdalene. Those are our candidates for Best Actress. And the winners are, so here is where we have a little more kind of divergence and a little more kind of complicated results. Victor, Kyle, and I, we chose for our judges winner for the 2025 Biby, Ayelet Zur as Queen Ahinoam, and we'll talk about that in a second. Let me just go through all of them, and then I'll get your thoughts, Victor. The audience choice was Elizabeth Tibish as Mary Magdalene in The Chosen season 5, and then both the audience and I think us too had Shireen Khan as Miriam as like a strong second. So she was in the running, very close to get the audience choice, but Liz Tibish eventually kind of beat her out. But she had a good percentage of the audience, and then we also, I think, really appreciated her performance as Miriam. But yeah, I just thought that Ayelet Zur, she brought a lot of nuance to her character. It was a performance that it both like it made her feel formidable, but also in some points, relatable. She was a bit of a villain, but also you could kind of sympathize with where she was coming from. She had, she had to interact with Ali Suleiman's King Saul, who had a very strong presence. And, she had unique relationships with each of her children and with David. And I just thought that she brought a lot to her performance and did a great job. And I don't know. Do you have thoughts on the?
Yeah, I thought the most difficult character for somebody to have to play on the show.
Yeah.
Just because there's not as much written about her, and what they've managed to is, a lot of this has to do with the writing, but the performance was incredible in how she pulled it out. But you have to be able to tie all this stuff into the Bible to where it doesn't contradict, to where it does feel like it's illustrating and it's making stuff make more sense than it necessarily always does on the page.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I can see why Saul would have done that. I can see why the kids would have done this. I can see. And it's like a lot of that has to do with her character and her performance and how she navigates the court that they have.
Yeah, I think for us, the reason why we didn't put Liz Tibish ourselves is just because she didn't have as much to do in The Chosen season 5. She's a great actress, and if this was like on The Chosen season 1, I think she would be on there. But even though I thought she did a decent job with what she was given. It just wasn't as significant and difficult of a role to perform. And Shireen Khan, I did think she did a great job. She played her character in a way where, she just provides a great kind of counterpoint to a lot of the stuff that's going on. And I feel like a lot of the humor of the show comes out of kind of seeing her little responses or like looks and things like that. Yeah, she was one of the funnier characters that we got to see. Do you have any thoughts on them?
It's another one of those categories where there's just a lot of options to choose from.
Okay, and now we've got the best villain in a Bible show or film in 2025. So this is another one of those kind of more unique categories that we put together. So instead of doing like a supporting actor, I thought we could honor some of the darker performances that we got. And so from The Chosen, we have a few. So we had Luke Dimion as Judas. We had Richard Fancy as Caiaphas. We had Sean Sharma as Shmuel. And then from House of David, we had Martin Ford as Goliath. We had Sam Otto as Eshbal. And we had Ashraf, I'm forgetting that, as Doeg. And then I also put Isla Johnson as the Satan from the Carpenter's Son. So lots of formidable figures in Bible films this year. But the awards go to Judas from The Chosen Season 5. So he was both the winner of the judges with the Biby and also the audience choice by a landslide with the audience choice. And then the honorable mention goes to Martin Ford as Goliath, who I know Kyle was kind of conflicted as far as like whether he should honor Goliath with the best villain or whatever, because Kyle doesn't really see Goliath as much as a villain, as like someone who's kind of taken advantage of and forced into a tragic situation. But yeah, that for me, that is part of a good villain, is potentially someone who isn't fully a villain, but has a understandable motivation. And yeah, Luke Dimion, I thought they did a great job of creating a unique perspective on Judas, one that you could kind of relate to a bit, what was motivating him. You could see kind of how he was, trying to be practical. He thought that he was doing kind of the right thing from his kind of distorted perspective. And yet at the same time, we could see how that was kind of sliding more and more, like, starting out back in the end of season 2. We kind of first get introduced to the character, and season by season, we've kind of seen him kind of gradually sliding more and more. And then we see that slide a lot more precipitously in season 5. And so, yeah, I thought they did a great job with the Judas character, and glad to honor his performance and the character.
Yeah, this was just a tough balancing act for how you do a character like this, especially one that is like the betrayer of the greatest hero of all time. It's like, how do you present that character either in a way that's just not pure evil, or in some other kind of just way too obvious way of doing it. And the way they wrote Judas, and especially the way he was portrayed, is like he totally sold the conflict that was going on inside the character, where you saw that he was a supporter of Jesus, but at the same time, he was so bound up in all kinds of other stuff outside of him that pulled him away, that totally conflicted inside of him and sent him on the wrong path. And you see that it's like his decisions. I mean, he's responsible for everything that he ended up doing, but you still from a human's perspective, you can understand how somebody can do something like that. I think we all have that capability within us, and they showed that within Judas, that he's a human being who made horrible mistakes.
Yep. Yeah, great job, both on his, the actor, and then also the writing and the way that they kind of contextualize his betrayal of Jesus. Yeah, and given that he is like one of those kind of mythic villains, Goliath is too, to some degree, but they're both some of these like villainous characters that are used as kind of slang, or as like we use them as references. People can call someone like a Judas or whatever to give a unique perspective on that character is a real kind of impressive feat. Next category is best show or film for a Bible study or discussion. I thought I would throw in this category just because I do create Bible studies and discussions for churches and small groups and ministries and things like that. And so, I thought we could honor the shows that we thought did a best job of kind of fostering a discussion. And so, we had just kind of all the options on here. I didn't include a Carpenter's Son as an option here just because I wouldn't suggest anyone using that for a discussion. And the winner, both from the judges and from the audience, was The Chosen Season 5. That was a pretty obvious one. We didn't really have a whole lot of discussion or debate on that just because as much as we love House of David, The Chosen Season 5 has a lot of stuff that you can really kind of sink your teeth into in terms of discussion, thinking about its applicability to life, and it just kind of fosters a lot. There's also just a lot of, it's very dense with scripture. So there's plenty of stuff to go over and to kind of reference and get into. And so definitely, if you are the kind of person who likes to be able to watch something and then discuss it with a group, then I totally recommend getting into The Chosen Season 5 with your Bible study or your ministry or small group or whatever else you're a part of. We do have resources on The Bible Artist. If that's something that you are interested in, definitely check out what I've put together. But I do think House of David, especially Season 1, I think is... it's an interesting other kind of type of Bible study that you can do. And so I did give that the honorable mention. And I do have a Bible study and discussion guide for Season 1 of House of David as well. Moving on to the best animated Bible show or film of 2025. So we've got David, King of Kings, The Chosen Adventures, and Light of the World. And I know this is one where out of the judges, I was the only one who had the chance to see all these things before we did the show. And so I'm the judge here, and then there's the audience as well. And the winner, both again for the judge, and then the audience, was The Chosen Adventures. There's a lot of interesting kind of stories that it does. I love the characters. I love how they end up using the sheep and the pigeon, and how they kind of contextualize and kind of tie in some of the Chosen stuff for kids. My daughter, she's loved The Chosen Adventures when I've watched it with her. I give the honorable mention to Light of the World because I feel like it's a criminally underappreciated Bible film from this past year. It did not get as much attention as King of Kings or as David, but I think it was the superior film to both of them. So out of films, I think Light of the World was the best animated film of the year, even though it didn't get nearly as much box office popularity. Just a real, it's nothing amazingly original, but they do a great job of doing kind of a young person following Jesus, and kind of, it moves along. It's got good pacing. It's got appropriate amounts of humor throughout. Yeah, they do just a great job of kind of introducing the biblical world and making it feel accessible. And so definitely check that out if you haven't already. I think it is now probably on DVD and streaming and all of that stuff. Chosen Adventures you can watch now on, I think, Prime Video and the Chosen app and stuff. Yeah, any thoughts on the animated stuff, even though you haven't had a chance to see it?
Those are the ones I want to watch. So looking forward. I'm going to try to catch the Chosen Adventures over the holiday.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and now we come down to the best live action Bible show or film of 2025. And so I included all of the potential options on here, even though some of them weren't really in contention. But the winners are... So here's another point where the judges diverged from the audience choice. So Kyle, Victor, and I all definitely voted in support of House of David seasons 1 and 2 as the best live action Bible show of the year, whereas the audience was overwhelmingly in favor of The Chosen season 5. And then both of us kind of as a second showed respect to The Promised Land, which was a really strong and excellent start to a new Bible show. So House of David, I think part of the discrepancy might be just audience. Maybe some of the people who frequent the blog and stuff like that aren't as into House of David and kind of the genre of Bible adaptation that it is, or it just doesn't have kind of quite the dedicated fan base that The Chosen does have. But yeah, it is a excellent show, great action, and if you're into kind of Lord of the Rings type adventure, it does kind of all that stuff on a really high level, while at the same time exploring the biblical characters in interesting ways. It has a few controversial decisions, just like The Chosen, but I think those controversial decisions are justifiable and interesting way to explore certain themes in the biblical story. Making kind of David's legitimacy a questionable thing, I think, is actually an interesting way to explore how the lineage of Jesus contains kind of these little blotch marks that would have made people kind of talk and be a little debating over kind of is this kind of appropriate for the lineage of the Messiah. But that's kind of what God has chosen to use. Yeah, and the performances throughout House of David, I think, are just stellar across the board. Yeah, in some ways for me, like The Chosen, it's got great actors. Don't get me wrong. Like definitely Jonathan Rumi, we gave him our best actor, and there's several other great actors in The Chosen. But House of David, I feel like, has such a strong cast, and I think also the writing, like, it creates a better kind of season-long kind of cohesion in House of David. And yeah, it was just like such a impressive feat. Also, to get out 2 seasons in 1 year is like unheard of, and I still don't know how they did that. But yeah, House of David was definitely my top show for the year. Still, I respect The Chosen. I think out of the 3 of us, I don't know between you and me, but I know Kyle liked The Chosen the least out of us. He was pretty down on season 5. He liked the previous seasons of The Chosen, but wasn't a big fan of season 5. It was probably not my favorite season, but I didn't. And there are a couple episodes in particular that I felt like were pretty weak, but I like some of the episodes a decent amount. But yeah, The Promised Land was also a very strong show, as we've discussed. They did a great job of doing the comedy, bringing it together with adaptation, also kind of weaving in some great themes and character development. And so, yeah, what a year to have 3 shows like this going on at the same time. Victor, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of feel that Promised Land and House of David especially benefited from all the legwork that The Chosen's done over the last 4 years. Like The Chosen's raised the bar, expectations, which I think for all of the people that are making shows after that allows them to say, hey, we can trust the audience that we can go an extra step above where they may not have gone in the past. And we can just kind of assume that there's like a baseline of quality that they're expecting, that there's storytelling that they're going to be okay with. And I think both Promised Land and House of David said we're going to go for it in a way that The Chosen's now, and it's like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's locked into its format, but it's kind of, it's set itself up. It can't do anything crazily different because it's got a runway that it's already built. And it's continuing to do that and I think with season 5 did not allow them to do as much creatively as previous seasons allowed them to do, because we're at the most important part of Jesus's life, where these are the things that he is saying, and you have to very specifically show and say the things that he was doing. You can't go off the rails and be too creative with it. And that's kind of a problem, because they've established that these characters talk like regular people. They talk like us, and now they're talking like the Bible. And I think there's just a little bit of a discontinuity there that just made it just a little bit of a speed bump. Yep. Whereas like House of David and Promised Land, they're just able to be fun and creative and dip into actual Bible verbiage when they felt like it.
Yep. Okay, so those are our best live action Bible show and films of 2025. Definitely feel free to reply, tell us why we're wrong, or argue with us. that is all welcome as long as it's in good faith. But we do have one more category. So the most anticipated Bible show / film of 2026. The winner for that is The Chosen Season 6. That both was the winner for the judges and for the audience. We are all really excited to see what they are going to do with the, this pivotal moment in human history, in the Bible, the crucifixion of Jesus. And the fact that they've chosen to do an entire season on this is really interesting. I think it's going to mean making a lot of interesting creative choices as far as how they tell that story. So I'm eager to see kind of the format that they choose. We had an interesting discussion a few months ago where we contemplated some different ways that they could go about doing that. So I'll check that out. But yeah, that's coming out hopefully in the fall. And so that's definitely the show of the next year that we are most looking forward to. Although the honorable mention is Joseph of Egypt, which is the first live action spinoff of The Chosen. The first animated spinoff of The Chosen was The Chosen Adventures, but this is the first kind of adult one where we're going to see kind of where the show goes and, to what degree they mimic the tone of The Chosen, where they kind of do their own thing. This is the first one, where it's not one of the original writers of The Chosen that is heading it up. It's someone else. Although, the Chosen team, has creative control and stuff like that. But it is kind of handing off the torch and seeing how another kind of creative persona is able to work within kind of that world that they've established. And so I am very interested in Joseph of Egypt as well. Although there are a lot of other things on the horizon. If Terrence Malick ever gets his Jesus movie out, that'll be interesting. And then if we see future seasons of Promised Land or House of David, obviously those we are very eager to see. Although I'm guessing that after getting 2 seasons out in 1 year, maybe House of David, you guys can take a year and catch up, and then maybe in 2027 we'll be able to get season 3 from you.
Really looking forward to Joseph of Egypt because they've got 5 or 2 studios have a huge slate of ideas that they want to work on.
Yeah.
I think they got a Moses show coming out and
yeah,
just a whole bunch of stuff. And this is the test. Let's see if they can replicate at least the quality and the ambition of The Chosen in something that's something else. And then if they can do that, then I'm on board for everything they do after.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It'll be the test for audiences, people, will want to see are they able to do this well? It'll probably also be the test for Amazon, because I think Amazon is helping to fund this one a little bit. And so, if they can prove that they're able to get an audience to watch a show like this, and that it gets the ratings and stuff like that, then that will also kind of open the door to more funding for future shows and projects and stuff like that. And so definitely there's a lot riding on Joseph of Egypt. So hopefully it delivers. Yeah. And no reason to think it won't. I think some of the stuff that we've seen from live streams and stuff is encouraging. I mean, we haven't seen too much at this point, but sets look cool. Some of the people that are working on it look good. So I'm encouraged and eager to see what happens with that. Okay, so to round things out, each of us had a couple of kind of special awards that we thought we would give to some of to things that weren't captured by some of the previous categories in the Bibies. And so we each came up with some things that we wanted to just kind of give a shout out to or honor by giving it a special award. And so Victor, I know you've got a couple awards ready, and so I'll let you get started with those.
Sure. My first one I'm calling the Best Unexpected Favorite Character. And I'm giving that to Chazizi from the Promised Land. Chazizi is the Egyptian that got stranded on the side of the Red Sea with the Israelites and has to pretend to be an Israelite to survive. And that was just was not expecting that character. And for me, that was the moment when I really decided I like this show. Surprises me. It comes up with tons of clever takes on stuff. And for me, that was the most clever, fun kind of thing, exactly like this kind of show needs to be, to where you just get a different perspective from somebody in a very fun and clever way. And that's the character. Whenever I tell somebody about this show, I'm like, and there's this character that you got to see. Is easy. He's the fun character in the show.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like he's definitely a favorite character for a lot of people that I've talked to about the show. And yeah, just brings like he's a great window character. And yeah, also just like a fun performance. Dav Creddy, really great guy. Interviewed him, and yeah, definitely a favorite character for me as well in the Promised Land. What's your second one?
My second one, I'm just calling best ensemble cast, because I'm giving that to House of David, because like we've talked about, like you could kind of go from top to bottom, and just about everybody in the cast nails their character. They, in very unexpected and moving ways, and these are not easy characters to portray, and they present them all, and they do it in a way, it's like, because you're going into it like it's with expectations of Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, especially for me. I'm a Game of Thrones fan, and that's the level that you want these kinds of court intrigue, family, swords and sandals, drama kind of shows to reach for. And this show is able to succeed because from David to Samuel to Saul to Ahinoam, everybody across the board just brings the whole level of the show up. The cast is great. Every time they introduce a new character, the actor or the actress that they have portraying that character is fantastic. So it's I feel that it is done, nailed it in a way that none of these other shows. They're all great, but House of David across the board has top level talent at almost every level.
I totally agree with that. And House of David, so much of what makes it work is that you've got a lot of just like great pairings. David and Michal is great. David and Mirab is great. Ahinoam and Saul, Saul and Abner, like there's all these great pairings that famously David and Jonathan, they totally deliver on that. And so they're able to, they've got such a great kind of complement of actors and actresses that they're able to have all these individual relationships work. So it's not all just kind of relying on one strong performance. It's just great around the board. And looking back on the best actors and the best actresses, the nominees that we included, there were like several from House of David for each of those categories, because it's just such a strong cast across the board. So definitely glad that you included that special category. I only ended up doing one myself just because I put together all the other categories, and so I kind of got to include some of my own stuff through that. But I did want to give a special shout out to what I thought was like one of the most interesting explorations of a biblical character in one of the shows, and that is the depiction of King Saul in House of David seasons 1 and 2. I just love how they're able to kind of pull apart a character who, he really like kind of puzzles you as you are going through the biblical story, and they're able to explore his character by giving him various different interlocutors who are able to kind of show kind of different sides, different concerns that he has. And so, I just love how the show is able to, on the one hand, we can see how, he does have the side that was once greater than what he currently is. Through Abner, you can kind of see this kind of shadow of who he once was, and the respect that Abner has for him, and the loyalty that he was once able to kind of engender as this great leader. But then we also see kind of the more conniving, more pragmatic side, especially through his interactions with Ahinoam, and then, his interactions with each of his children are unique as well. And so, I just thought it was a great exploration of a character. Ali Suleiman was part of that, but the writing was also a really important part of the exploration of that character. And so I wanted to give that a shout out, even though he didn't end up getting one of the normal awards. I wanted to honor him.
It's really tough also to add it onto that, somebody playing a crazy character or going through some kind of, possession or stuff like that. To me, that's one of those things where I always kind of roll my eyes because it never feels authentic. And yet that's another layer that they were able to add to this character, both in the writing and the performance, to where it made all of these like very strange things in the Bible where it's like, we've talked about it where it's like, how do you explain this to where it makes sense and based on everything that comes before and after it. And they were able to do that in a way that fits in with all the character interactions like we were just talking about with the cast and everything else. So it's like it's a degree of difficulty with this character that they managed to pull off in a variety of ways.
Yep. Okay, so that is the last award. We didn't touch on so many things that are often included in award shows. I didn't feel like I had the expertise or the kind of awareness to be able to comment on music, but that's an important part of a film, and especially of some of these shows and films. And so, if you want to comment on that, or visual stuff, lots of different things. The production design, different things like that. Lots of impressive things that were happening in Bible shows and movies this year. Thank you so much for journeying with us and the Bible Artist throughout 2025. And I've been so grateful to all of you, especially those of you who have commented, who subscribed, especially to supporters through my Buy Me a Coffee, but to everyone who has shared videos or interacted with my stuff. Thank you so much. It really is just so encouraging to know that people are enjoying what we're doing and that it's meaningful to them, and that they are benefiting from it and also using it to benefit others in their communities. And so thank you so much from me as the Bible Artist, and looking forward to exploring more Bible shows and movies in 2026. And we'll have all kinds of new conversations and stuff coming up. So definitely keep tuned. But that is it for now. Thanks for listening, and Godspeed.